If you're looking for a new way to support the podcast, check out Dubby.gg, an energy supplement company trying to make a difference. There, you can use code SIDEMISSION for 10% off your order. Thank you to Dubby for sponsoring this episode, and we hope you enjoy.
Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by just one of the boys, Matt Beck, and we're doing this episode a little bit differently, admittedly. So, for anyone that has listened to, hopefully you've heard the reviews of the first four episodes of Fallout at this point. Hopefully they've been posted by this point. We're not doing just 2 episodes in this recording. We're doing the last 4 episodes because we had some internet issues, some recording issues. Me and Matt are doing this episode in person now, so we're actually in the same room looking at each other, and we're not in Discord anymore. This feels a whole lot easier. I don't know how you feel, but it feels a whole lot easier.
Honestly, I like this kind of setup because most podcasts, they tend to do this whole segment where everybody's in the same room together. The chemistry is a lot better when you're able just to look at one another. It's almost like we can read each other's minds, kind of. Like I'm just looking at you and reading your face and things like that. I just feel like it makes everything flow so much easier.
Well, for people that don't know, we do these over Discord, and when you do it like that, because we're all in different places, you have to rely on the internet. If someone's internet goes out, it kind of screws everything. Yeah. It kind of messes everything. Doing this in person, we're not relying on that at all. Now, getting into Fallout Season 2, because we've both finished it now, and obviously the season's been over for, I think, a few weeks now at this point. The last 4 episodes do pick up. I know that we had been fairly critical of the first 4 episodes. There were moments that we liked. I know we liked Maximus's storyline within the Brotherhood, and then obviously he and Thaddeus escape. And all of that was really interesting, and I do feel like it was the most interesting part of the first half. I think that the moment everything starts to shift more to New Vegas, I think is where the story picks up. And there are, over the last 4 episodes, there are a lot of moments that really stand out and that work. Now, there are also some very fair critiques that we'll get into. But I think that when we were talking before we recorded, before we hit the record button, we said that one of the first moments that was wow, did not see that coming, was when at the end of episode 4, Lucy and the Ghoul are confronted by one of the, I guess you call them minions almost, of Hank, because he's working on this whole mind control scheme.
Yeah.
And he essentially says, hey, Hank will show you, talking to the Ghoul, will show you where your wife and your daughter are, but in exchange, you have to first take Lucy back to the vault.
Yeah.
And the Ghoul agrees to it. And I thought that was crazy because I'm like, we've seen this whole story over a season and a half of these two, really not just of these two journeying together, but half of this season has been about them getting to Vegas and finding Hank. And now all of a sudden, I thought it was really interesting, I think you did as well, that the Ghoul was willing to just all of a sudden go back on all of that. Just for the opportunity, admittedly, an understandable one, to find his wife and daughter.
Yeah, I mean, with all the flashbacks we are getting this season, they're clearly setting up, with the Ghoul story is that's his whole thing in the show. Is finding his wife and daughter, getting clues and hints that they are still alive.
Yep.
But I'm still confused about his daughter being because I clearly thought in the very first episode in season 1 that she died when the nukes went off.
It does feel like they hinted at that.
It has that whole moment where, they're running away once they see the nukes going off, and then all of a sudden, she's gone.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that we are getting more, backstory on, Barb's involvement with Vault-Tec and Robert House. I think that is really good storytelling, especially when you're showing the conflicting sides of, Cooper between finding out how his wife is doing all this, shady shit with Vault-Tec. Yeah. And he was being used as the poster boy, the poster child for Vault-Tec, using the whole the Vault Boy thumbs up thing.
I do think the flashback showed a very good part of that. I think that they showed, both with Coop and with Barbara as well, I think they showed this conflicting side of things where it's you want to be a good person, you want to help people, but you're also working for a company that is doing some very, very evil things. That is essentially setting up the fall of humanity.
Yep.
And I do think that in the last flashback of this episode, I thought it was really interesting what Robert House said to Coop when they have their initial meeting of, just so you know, I'm not going to be the one that drops the bombs. Vault-Tec is also not going to be the one that drops the bombs. I think it's going to be some mysterious third party who we have no idea who it is yet. And it almost feels like in that moment, because I went back and rewatched it after our attempted recording session last week. I went back and watched it. It almost in that scene feels like he is implying that he thinks Coop had something to do. It's going to have something to do with it. It feels like that's what he is almost implying.
That's what I felt too.
It feels like that's what he's kind of getting at. Is he's like, hey, I don't know you. I don't know anything about you outside of what all of us already know. You could be the one that hits the button and drops the bombs. It could be you. So I thought that was interesting, and that has got me really interested into what we'll learn more in Season 3, I think, because I do think we'll learn a lot more in Season 3, especially with how the last flashback in the finale of this season wraps up with Coop being arrested. I'm really intrigued to see where that goes now.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the flashbacks were infinitely more interesting than a lot of the stuff that happened in present day in this season. And I thought that all that... I also liked Robert House's little... his idea that, I will live on, but not as a human. And it's this whole, putting his consciousness and his mind in this machine, and that is how he's been able to remain alive for 200 plus years. At the end of that episode, Lucy obviously does not like the idea that the ghoul is going to try to take her back to the vault. She punches him through a window, and he gets impaled on this pole, on this this wooden stake. And it was really funny in episode 5 how a lot of his story was him just trying to get off of it. But it was one of those where it's he almost gets off and then he slides right back down. And I don't know if that was hard to watch for you. There are some things in the budget was very clearly improved for this season. And a lot of it went towards the gore and stuff like that. But I thought that episode 5 was interesting because it's the first time that we see a lot of Lucy and Hank again.
Yes.
And Hank almost willingly just kind of tells her the entirety of his plan. And just this is what I want to do. I'm doing this for the greater good of the wasteland, of not exactly the Commonwealth, but just of the wasteland.
Yeah.
And as evil as it sounds, you almost start to understand it. And you can see Lucy almost trying to understand, because she's I want to set these people free. I don't want these people here. I'm taking you in. But then she starts to see, and she starts to have that doubt of, maybe there is more to this than what I understand. And I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah, Hank's view on the wasteland, he just sees, civilization has just collapsed.
Yep.
Everybody's just, trying to survive. They're trying to kill each other out there. And his whole plan is to just take over. The moment where Lucy steps into that office setting and she sees all of these people who are just working their jobs.
Yeah.
Just being regular people.
And it doesn't happen in that specific scene, but in a later episode, she recognizes that one of them is a former Legion member.
Does.
Yes.
Yeah. Lucy seeing that, I mean, I'm assuming that she does see Hank's side of, point of view there. Yeah. But at the same time, she knows it's wrong. Mm. She knows, you cannot run, you can't run a world just where everybody's under mind control.
Yeah.
Because, freedom of choice, that's a very important thing.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're just forced to, get along with everybody and just conform?
Pretty much, yeah, conformity, yeah.
You're, made to be perfect, no flaws. Obviously, that just does not work.
No, it doesn't.
Especially in a world like Fallout.
Where there really is no good and evil.
There's not.
It's a lot like the world of The Last of Us, where it's there's no real good and evil. There's just people that are trying to survive, and there's people that disagree with that group.
Yeah.
That's really all it is.
Yeah, that. I think that moment where those two guys see each other, what was it? One dude's just trying to kill him, and he's up stapling his forehead or something like that. I can't remember exactly. And then after Hank actively, Lucy's do it, having Hank activate the mind control things, and then he's oh, buddy, you don't look so good. I thought that was funny. That's good. That's good, comedy for Fallout.
There's some hysterical moments late in this season, and there's one that I know me and you were going to talk about where someone is from. I do feel of these last couple of episodes, I feel episode 6 is kind of I don't want to say it's a throwaway, because we get a lot of good build up with Lucy and Hank, and again, seeing them back together, and this has been her goal the whole time, has been to track him down, and it's really interesting that with 2 episodes left, they're all right, you're here, what are you gonna do? And I felt like they built a lot on that in episode 7. I feel like that one criticism I do have, and I know Kyle felt the same way because we talked about it, and he's not on the episode. He was busy. That's why he's not here. But he talked about it like, it feels like when you look at all the storylines, it feels like Norm kind of got the shaft. Because his storyline, the vault stuff is interesting. Like when he gets out with all the vault dwellers and they all of a sudden, like, you know, that one discovers that, like, Norm is not who he says he is and that he's kind of been playing him for a fool. Like this, it's almost like this Lord of the Flies kind of thing where it's like these people that have no idea what's going on. They find out they've been tricked, and now all of a sudden they're turning on this dude that's been leading them this whole time. I felt like that was really interesting, but we didn't see enough of it.
Yeah, those people that woke up from that vault, I'm sure they're important people. Like I think they're like management type of like
they're
people.
It's mentioned that they were all like important parts of Vault-Tec, and
which is why specifically why they were
in that vault. Yeah,
all together like that. But no, I agree with Norm. His story to me has been kind of like I don't exactly know where they're going with this. Like when they wind up back at that one building. Where we saw was it season 1 with the Radroach farm?
Yes,
like those 2 older ladies.
Yes,
like I knew that the setup was happening there because of them being back at that location. Then there was that one girl who figured stuff out before.
And basically, his love interest. Yes,
his love interest. I'm trying to like think of her whole part in this or whatever, because I can't remember if something happened to her during a certain scene, which we'll get to in a minute.
Well, I think because obviously, I think when they hint at the Radroaches, I think a lot of that is like, okay, these people are about to be. They're cannon fodder. They're cannon fodder. They are not like these people are not going to live, and obviously they don't because the Radroaches attack. And all this, and end up killing all but just Norm and the girl.
I was surprised how violent they got with Norm. I'll be honest with you. Like I don't like Norm is. I mean, not main character, but obviously he's like a.
I would consider him a main character. I mean, he was a pretty. I mean, it's when you look at the actors that are in this. I mean, Moises Arias is a people that a lot of people our age know who he is because of his involvement with Disney.
Yeah,
like I think a lot of us know who he is. So I feel like I would consider him a main character. Yeah. So I mean, It was just interesting because that stuff to me, when it was on screen, I liked it. I was intrigued by it, but I just felt like it didn't really go anywhere. And that's where I felt like I just felt a little empty on it. I was like, where are we going with this story? Are they just cannon fodder? Is there a greater narrative point here of, these people people will follow until they feel like they're being deceived and then they will turn on you like that? And if that's the whole point, I get it. But it felt like they were setting up for something more, and then it doesn't really happen because obviously the one guy like sees Norm trying to get in touch with his dad, and he's like, "Oh, this has been your whole goal the whole time." Yeah. And I think that's interesting, and it's an interesting point of view to take there. But I was really hoping that it would be more than that. That was kind of my only thing there. I did like when we get into like episode 7. I loved the dynamic between all three of the Ghoul, Maximus, and Thaddeus. Yeah. I thought that dynamic was really good. The whole idea, and the Ghoul knows this, of if they're going to break into Lucky 38, they need firepower. Yeah. So he takes them to get a power armor set, to get his weaponry, because they know to get into the Lucky 38, he knows that there's a pack of Deathclaws out there waiting for him, which we will talk about. I think there's a lot of good with the Deathclaws. The CGI is fantastic.
Yeah, the Deathclaws look really good.
That part is fantastic. In terms of how they acted, I do have questions about what they were thinking here narratively. One, why are there Deathclaws in New Vegas? And why are there so many of them?
It's like the Deathclaws are like, the alligators of the moat around castles kind of thing.
Yes.
Like obviously, the casino itself is the castle. And then, the surrounding area.
You asked a fair question, and that was, how does this broken fence, how is this keeping Deathclaws out?
Yeah, especially when we saw, there was almost a number of them that just kept showing up. Like you see one, then you see two, then you see three, and then all of a sudden you see 8 or 9. And you're like, if there's that many Deathclaws, how is this poorly built fence, this wall, whatever, around the casino, preventing them from just getting out there into the town that's literally right on the other side?
Everyone can't see us. Obviously, my cat Katara is trying to get a little involved with the episode. You may have heard her for a second there, but nonetheless, I thought their dynamic as a group was really interesting, like, because I don't think we'd seen much of the Ghoul and Maximus together in season 1. We saw a little bit, but not a lot.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
This has been going through my head. It just feels like it had to happen. Like, this is just how the plot carries forward. The fact that, after what happened in the Brotherhood, and Maximus gets the cold fusion, Dane gives it to him. The fact that they just so happen to run into the Ghoul, who also knows that he needs the cold fusion, and then he knows Maximus has it, and then it comes to Maximus gives it to him.
There was a line that I thought Walton Goggins had here that he nailed.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite lines in the series, and it was, if you want to get this to a good person, you may have to be okay giving it to a bad person.
Yeah, that was a good line.
I loved that.
line.
I was like, that's awesome. That is exactly the kind of writing I want to hear, because especially the way Walton Goggins delivers that line. I'm like, that is one of the best lines in the
line
series.
right there is what made me feel like it goes from, it's such a coincidence that, they happen to run into each other, and then they had to have that happen for the plot to go through, for, the goal to get the cold fusion. But that line right there is what just made the moment for me, like, because that's a good way to actually make me feel like it's just forced.
Well, and it drives home the point of, at the end of the day in Fallout, like we said earlier, drives home the point of there's not really good and bad. Everyone is looking for something as a means to an end.
Yeah.
That is all it is. There's not really good and evil. There may seem like there is, but realistically, it's just people that are trying to find their way to an end point, and they will do whatever it takes to get to that end point. And I thought that line of, again, if you want to have a chance of getting this to a good person, you may have to be okay with giving it to a bad person. And I thought that was awesome. I thought that a lot of the stuff with Lucy and Hank, especially at the end of this episode, where she tricks him and handcuffs him, and just kind of keeps him in place for a little bit. I like that because, again, Lucy's whole goal has been getting her father back, and now she has slowly kind of realized her father is gone.
Yeah.
Her father is gone, and the man that she thought he was not who he is at all.
Yeah.
I thought one thing that this episode did well, I liked the explanation of how the mind control worked. I loved that. Because so often in media, I do feel like we get mind control, but we don't really get an explanation of, okay, how does this work exactly? Like, are you just hypnotizing them, or is it a code phrase? Like we see it in Captain America Civil War with Bucky. We see it there. Like it's a code phrase, and he was brainwashed. But the idea that this chip or this device they put in the back of their head, it basically works as amnesia. It clears out however many of the memories they need for them to just be a normal functioning person. They forget all their days as like a wastelander, as a raider, all that. And all they know is what now they're being told. I liked that, personally. I liked that it put what I believe to be a fairly realistic and grounded spin on something that could be seen as unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's something that I could see somewhere deep in a bunker. I could see someone in real life working on something very similar to this. I could see that, and I liked that. I loved the showdown with Maximus, the Ghoul, and the Deathclaws as well.
That was great.
Loved that. And the fact, I jokingly said it in the group chat, the fact that Maximus just starts throwing hands with a Deathclaw, like, that's just kind of awesome.
Yeah,
and
that power suit, like, that whole fight scene was so cool. Like, he had the blade on his arm, and then he had, like, the rockets shooting up, and you're just watching the Deathclaws just blow up into, flesh and blood.
He realized all of a sudden, he goes, oh, I don't just have my fists, I have weapons as well. And it was a really cool realization. I also thought that it was hysterical when they're getting ready to go into battle, and Thaddeus' arm just falls off.
That was hilarious. And then Thaddeus is up on the roof, and he learns how to freaking shoot with his feet, like...
that was weird.
That was exactly the kind of thing I expected from a show like this.
But it's like, that's Fallout. That is Fallout right there. Like, I love that. Like, that kind of wacky, crazy shit. I love that. That is Fallout. I love that. There are serious moments, but there's also a fair amount of humor, and I do feel like that's like, I think that one thing that people talk about humor in Fallout. Like, I think one thing we all forget is, like, at the end of Fallout 3, like, your character has to sacrifice himself because the super mutant you're going with, even though he is immune to radiation and all that, he just says, no, this is your story. You have to finish this. And it's like, it's so stupid, but it's funny because he's like, know, I could live. You could do this for me. And he's like, no, this is your story. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, what? But then...
Hey, speaking of super mutant,
The tease is for it. I think we're going to see them in season 3, and I'm excited.
If you were wondering how the ghoul got down from that pole or whatever, it's because of basically a super mutant that is covered, he is hidden, brings him back to like his little lair. He puts this crystal in the giant hole in his chest.
Yes, it was,
and it just reseals it up. I'm like, I don't know much about that.
It's like I want to know more.
Yeah,
I don't know what just happened, but I want to know more.
What is this healing property that can mend like your flesh and like repair you after something like damage like that? But obviously, I think maybe it's because he's a ghoul. He's not human, because I don't think that would work for a human. I don't know.
Well, it's Thaddeus has that line when his arm comes off. He goes, "Oh, typical thing that happens to us ghouls, right?" And it's like, okay, you hear that line, and you're like, okay, well, maybe there's something more here. Maybe there's something more to it.
I like Thaddeus' interactions with the ghoul because they're both ghouls.
They're both ghouls.
Yeah, man. Like the ghoul life.
It's almost like that dynamic of like if you're in school, it's like, oh, here's the jock ghoul and here's the nerdy ghoul.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's almost like that. It feels very much like that. I want to talk more about the fight, but I feel like if we're going to talk about what happens in episode 8, we have to start with all of the stuff at the beginning because we get a lot of interesting information about a character that I don't think we'd forgotten about, but a character I don't know that any of us had seen this character as like an important character in this series, and she all of a sudden like really becomes important and a key to it all. What was her name? Stephanie. Like, yeah. And I hate that I had to
like Lucy's best friend back from season 1.
Yes, and we find out that she's not always been a vault dweller.
Nope.
She's not just been there for like 20 something years. She's 200 years old. She's Canadian.
She's Canadian,
and that's like the funny joke of like the reveal of her and at the wedding, and everyone turns on her, and that's like Ben. the big like thing that gets everyone to turn on her is this proof that she is Canadian.
Ben's like, she's 200 years old, and everyone's like, she's Canadian.
It's like she's Canadian.
She's from Canada,
and it's like. It's like, but that's funny as hell because it's like Vault-Tec was American. It was an American company that they sought to protect, heavy air quotes around protect, actually, Americans.
I have a lot I want to speak about Stephanie because clearly, like, for one, in season 1, she gets her eye stabbed out, she gets an eye patch. I'm instantly thinking, like, I see a future villain here, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And, like, the way that she's running her vault, the way that she treats Ben, like, Ben is just basically babysitter for, her child.
Was it Chad? I think it was Chad.
Oh, was it Chad?
I think his name's Chad.
Okay, Ben was somebody else then. Chad then.
C-H-E-T, Chad.
Ched?
Chet.
Chet, thank you.
There we go, you're good.
But Chet's just basically the babysitter, and she's, like, setting up this whole entire scheme, like, get married to Chet for one.
Yep.
But, like, her story, basically, we get to see her and her mother when she was younger. They're trying to, escape from Canada to America?
I guess.
Or something like that, because there's, like, this border, and the mom kills the guard, but then the mom gets killed.
Yes.
And then the mom basically is telling her,
all that stuff I taught you.
All of this stuff I taught you, yeah.
It's not important anymore. Like it's like she's like, I know I raised you to be Catholic.
Yeah.
Forget all that.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, this is not humans anymore. You do what it takes to survive.
And it's Stephanie blames Vault-Tec for the death of her mother. And her whole entire thing is to get into America and infiltrate Vault-Tec.
Yeah.
And become a member, which is what I think is cool in the flashbacks is that we see her.
We see the growth. Like, we see the progression of that.
She wants to work for Vault-Tec, so she ends up talking to Hank, or she gets with, who was that? There was somebody that she...
Well, she helped Coop, one of Coop's friends, get back to, like, where he was staying. And she was asking, like, how can I get hired at Vault-Tec?
Yeah.
As Katara steps over the recorder. Hello,
and then the fact that they set up Hank and Steph...
And it's basically like, and it's this realization of she's not just Lucy's quote unquote best friend in the vault. That's her mother. Like,
is that confirmed?
I feel like that's what they're hinting at here because that's a younger form of Hank.
Because I 100% thought that we did see Lucy's mom at the end of season 1. Was that on her mom?
I don't know. I could be wrong.
You think that's just...
I don't know. It's a weird dynamic of like...
It's a weird setup for sure.
I feel like that's almost what they want you to like start wondering of maybe that wasn't her mom.
Because I was doing that.
Yeah. Like, it's like maybe they want you to like start thinking more about that, which if that's not the case, then maybe we're just overthinking. That's a possibility.
Yeah. Did you also notice that we saw Betty in the past?
We did.
With Barb?
We did. And it's one of those things where with Steph, I very much now see what they were trying to build. I see this villain arc because when they trap her in the office, she feels like trapped and hopeless. And the last thing we see of her is she kind of just looks up. She's got her head out. She looks up and she's got this look of like, all right, to hell with all this. I'm done with all this. And she gets on like these radio waves. She goes, all right, Hank always said y'all would be listening. Initiate phase 2.
Yeah.
And we don't know what phase 2 is yet. But all of a sudden, we see a bunch of scientists hearing this, and they start going to work. And I'm like, okay, you've hinted at this. We're not really getting anything. And I'm kind of critical of that because I wanted to see a little bit of payoff in that. But it does have me intrigued into what we could see in season 3 of that. Now, the stuff with Lucy and Hank. Obviously, Lucy goes and takes down the mainframe for all of, for the devices and all that.
Yeah.
And then you have that last moment with her and Hank. And now here's where I think I'm critical of this. Because this has been the main plot line they've wanted us to care about. And I guess, and maybe you felt differently, I just didn't find myself caring very much. I know Hank ends up basically just deleting his whole mind and all of his memory. And she ends up kind of just leaving him there. And she's heartbroken because she's lost her dad. But I just thought that this was all just, it was almost too little too late for me.
Yeah, I think that whole scene was for us to gain some sort of sympathy for Hank. But and it's kind of hard to. I mean, Lucy's reaction was very heartbreaking because, I think
Ella Purnell acted her ass off in that scene. I thought she was fantastic.
Her timing, like the tears and everything like that, was good. Like, she definitely sold it.
It does lead to a great moment of her and Maximus reuniting, and that was
one
for
of
me
the standouts for me.
That was one of the best scenes of the series so far. Was okay.
They separated for so long. I have been wanting to see that reunion
because she's also like she just got sold out by the Ghoul, so she feels she's with her dad. Her dad's no longer who he is, who she thought he was. The Ghoul sold her out, so everyone that she's been around has kind of just let her down. To where now Maximus, there's almost that look on her face of, is this real? Like, is this actually happening?
Yeah.
Like, are you actually here right now?
There's actually another moment that I really like in this last episode, and it's basically the Ghoul had easily killed Hank, but he gave Lucy.
Yep.
He gave Lucy that choice.
He allowed Lucy to have that choice, which I appreciate because, again, that's character development. The Ghoul in season 1, when we first meet him, would not have done that. Wouldn't have hesitated, but we're seeing a little more of that human side of him. Like, we're seeing more of Coop come out of him, more so than the Ghoul. Because he finds, Robert House, he's now in that robotic form, and he takes him to the cryo chambers, and he takes him to his wife and his daughter's pods. He opens them, and they're both empty, but there's a postcard from Colorado.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the exact postcard, what the exact wording on it was, but she was like, you know what, you were right. Colorado was a great idea. And it's like almost like them hinting like, okay, they got out and that's where they are now.
Yeah.
And it's, and Coop has the Ghoul has another great line of, I could be disappointed, but for the first time, for the longest time in the last 200 plus years, I now know for a fact that my family is alive.
Yeah.
And it's powerful because, again, it'd be so easy in that moment to just be overcome with sadness that I got this far and they're not here.
Yeah.
But he also now knows they are out there. He got
the confirmation.
All he wanted to know at the end of the day was they were alive, and he knows now, which is great. Now, looking at how the rest of this ends up, there's one other scene that really stuck out, and that is we go back to the Legion. Macaulay Culkin and I don't want to say the Kaiser, because it's not how it's pronounced.
I'm going to call him the Caesar.
But, like, the Kaiser is dead, and he's got this note on him, and supposedly this note was going to say...
This was the note that was on the body that was on top of that wall that everybody was fighting to get.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the note that supposedly is going to say who the next Kaiser is, and the note, and I thought this was brilliant. The note says, there is no Legion without the Kaiser. This ends with me.
Yep. So
the whole time, this idea that the next Kaiser would be revealed in this note, there was never the next Kaiser.
No plans for a successor.
I thought Macaulay Culkin depicted as well, again, as somebody who was a follower of somebody, that you believe what they're saying, you think they have your best interest in mind, and then you find out this person was so prideful, was so egotistical, was all self-consumed and self-absorbed, that they believed that there was nobody suitable beyond them to take over. And you see that shift in his mindset of, this person that I trusted never gave a shit about me.
Yep.
Never cared about us. Only wanted to be in power. I loved that. And this depiction now that Macaulay Culkin is going to take over as the Kaiser. They're going to march on Las Vegas. And they said they're going to create a palace Caesar's Palace, and it's spelled Caesar.
Caesar's Palace.
Obviously referencing Caesar's Palace in actual Las Vegas. I loved that. The one issue I have with how this wrapped up is it feels like there is a ton of buildup in this season, and it feels like none of it paid off. That's the only thing I have.
Every character's, ending in this was just one setup. They definitely knew, like, we're getting a third season.
Yep.
Because of, how well season 1 did, and I'm very sure season 2 did very well as well. But it's like, I don't like it when shows get so comfortable that they feel like that they can just leave every character, with an open up ending type of thing, like this is where it's going to lead to. I don't like that. It's sequel baiting type of thing.
Essentially, yeah. Like next season baiting, I guess is something we could say. I don't know. Yeah. It does feel like a lot of it.
But it's exciting because now we know that Coop and Dogmeat are going to be on their way to Colorado.
Yeah.
Maximus is back with Lucy. They're about to face off against
the New California Republic and the Legion are going to be facing off.
Yeah, like that's cool. And with Norm, I don't exactly know what we're set up with that. Stephanie, she did that whole thing, and then we see, what was it called? The Enclave?
Yeah.
Like, we saw them get introduced. Like, that's where that building with the scientists, when she says, start, step 2 or whatever. Like, every character, we know now going into season 3 what to expect. Whereas in season 1, we didn't really know except, they're going to New Vegas. That was what was teased. Yep. But here it's like, we have multiple plot lines.
It feels like they're almost
up to season 3. Like,
you know what? It feels like, because we talked about it kind of in jest. We talked about it a little bit, but it's almost like they are building to like a Fallout 76 kind of thing. Where Fallout 76 as a game, the whole thing it's open-ended.
Yeah.
Like every story, not every story connects, not every story meets at the same point.
Yeah.
It's a lot of different stories that all go their own separate ways. But I do think that is something that could work with all of these storylines.
Yeah, I agree. I wanted to say that one thing that I am very much looking forward to with season 3, well, actually maybe not looking forward to, is like, I love the dynamic between Maximus, Lucy, and the Ghoul. I wish that we could see all 3 of them together more, but obviously that is not what this show is. They're not a group that travels together.
Yes.
They clearly have like their own plots going on, so obviously, but it is nice to see Lucy and Maximus back together. Even the scenes with the Ghoul and Maximus when they met, I love it. Like those 3 actors work so well together. Like their chemistry is so great. Like even when I'm watching them in interviews, like their chemistry.
If there's one thing
incredible.
if there's one thing I can praise the show for consistently, it is that the actors and actresses very clearly have good chemistry with each other.
Yeah.
That is not...
Casting was on point for sure.
I don't think that's the problem with this season. I think this season, the problem is, and we talked about it a little bit when we tried to record last week, second seasons of shows, when you know another season is coming, typically they struggle.
They do.
There are a couple examples of that not being the case. I think Avatar The Last Airbender is a great example where book 2 of, Earth is great. That's one of the best. A lot of people would argue that might be the best season in the show. Avatar is one of the few shows where you feel like every season improves on the previous one.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's you might get a laugh out of this, but I do think another good example of a show we've both watched, where I look at season 1 and I look at season 2, and I think season 2 definitely improved on it, was Ginny and Georgia. I thought Ginny and Georgia, season 1 to season 2 improved.
Yeah.
It got so much deeper and talked about so much more that the first season didn't really dive into fully.
Yeah.
I do feel like sometimes second seasons struggle like this one did with just setting up for what is to come. Very clearly, there is a bigger story that they want to tell.
Yeah.
And they're going to tell it in season 3, I think.
I think with the first season is they definitely, because with that, that chance that they don't get renewed for a second season, they're able to, pretty much go all out, do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But when you are as successful as the first season was, in season 2, I think you're going to play it safe a little bit. I think you're going to keep your cards close to your chest.
Yes.
And I think you're just going to slowly, drip feed?
Yeah, maybe.
You're going to drip feed the plots across the season, because you know that you'll be able to you'll be able to conclude it all by the time that you're ready to.
I think it's also the fact that now that season 1 that what you did worked.
Yeah.
You know that what you did worked. You have a formula, and now this is the more optimistic side, is you can spend some time setting up because people are going to be invested in what you're saying. So I do think there are some strengths to that. I just came away from this feeling, if season 1 was a 10 out of 10, which I do feel like season 1 was fantastic.
Yeah.
I felt like this was closer to a 7, 7.5. And it just felt like it played a little too safe, played the setup game for far too long, but especially with the post-credit scene in the finale of season 2, I do feel like we are set up for some really interesting things because, for one, and we can wrap up here, the Brotherhood of Steel they are a ruthless faction in the games. They are ruthless. They care about their agenda, and that's it. We saw Quintus at the end of the show, at the end of this season. We saw him telling Dane, I tried to be Quintus the Unifier. I tried to band together all of us. I tried to get us all together on the same page. Yep. It didn't work. Therefore, Quintus the Unifier is dead. Quintus the Destroyer is now born. I feel like we're about to see the real Brotherhood of Steel in action. And I'm kind of excited because in this war between the NCR and the Legion, that's going to be good. What is going to happen with the Brotherhood of Steel now, especially knowing now about the new power armor?
Yeah, then they show the blueprint, so I didn't play like Fallout 1 and 2. Fallout 3 was actually my first one.
Fallout 4 was mine.
So when they showed the blueprints, like I was kind of confused at first because I was like, this is obviously a hype-ass moment for Fallout fans.
Yes.
So I went and I looked at it. Liberty Alpha Prime, that is a huge freaking, like, robot. Like, I don't know if you've seen him, like, in pictures, but he's huge.
Yeah.
And he's like destructive.
Mech. It's like a mech, basically.
It is a mech, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that was huge. So I wish I had played Fallout 1 and 2.
It does make you wish.
So I could have been impacted by that.
Well, I know Kyle, his fair complaint, what he said constantly throughout this season, and I empathize with this because like I felt the same very much so with Last of Us Season 2, where it's when you've played the game and you love the game, when the show doesn't do what that game does, it's really hard for it to resonate with you and you have to separate them. In a vacuum, I thought this season was really good.
Yeah.
In comparison to what the game is, especially what me and Kyle have talked about, what you and Kyle have talked, what all three of us have talked about, it does feel like this show, they took inspiration, but they changed a lot, is what it feels like. And I think that whatever they do in Season 3, it's going to be interesting to see the marketing for it over the next year and a half or so, to see what they do, because if they do go the Fallout 76 route of these stories being a little bit more separate and having, like, you know, Coop and Dogmeat are going to Colorado to try to find Barbara and Janie, and I hope we see more flashbacks. Again, him getting arrested at the end and this whole moment with him and Barbara where he goes, hey, they are going to make me take the fall for it. Yeah. You are going to let them. You are not going to argue. Be surprised. Yeah. Be surprised you had nothing to do with this. Because at the end of the day, he stole the Cold Fusion and he gave it away.
Yeah, when he gives to the president.
Yes, like, and I love.
They try to make that seem like that.
I loved that with what is it, Clancy Brown. I loved his involvement as the president there because all I could hear was Mr. Krabs.
Yeah,
all I could hear was that, but I loved that. I loved his involvement. I think that season was good in a vacuum. In a vacuum, I think it's good. I think that in context, it struggled a little bit. I hope that it builds into something really fun in Season 3 or really exciting in Season 3. But we're going to have to wait for that. Was there anything else that stuck out that we hadn't talked about yet that you wanted to touch on?
My hope for Season 3 is that we finally see Super Mutants.
Yes. Because that's an important faction.
Because that was teased. So I definitely hope we see Super Mutants.
I hope at some point, and I know that like it's probably not going to happen immediately, I would love for us to at some point make it to the Commonwealth. Because the Commonwealth is referenced in this season a lot. Yeah. And talking about war with the Commonwealth and about how, hey, like the Brotherhood is still, I'll talk about, like, if we go to war with them, we will lose.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know more about the Commonwealth as well, and I think that that's an interesting setting for this show.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Fallout Season 2 is in the books. That's going to wrap up our series for Fallout Season 2. But I am looking forward to Fallout Season 3.
Yeah,
I think that there's a lot of really cool things that are going to happen. So that's going to do it for this episode of Side Mission. You can follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook at Side Mission Podcast. For Matt, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.